I've got some troubling news about England's royal family.
Freely, please let us not become.
Queen Camilla has always been overreaching when it comes to her family, especially her son, Tom Parker Bowles. But lately, that behavior may have gone too far. Palace insiders claim she tried to claim the late Queen Elizabeth's iconic Range Rover for her son, sparking a heated confrontation with King Charles. The usually calm monarch reportedly lost his temper in a rare moment of fury. Now, many are asking, has Charles finally reached his limit with Camilla's antics? And just how far is Camilla really willing to go for her family? Stick around, because this royal drama is just getting started. How Queen Camilla set her sights on the late Queen's iconic Range Rover. If there's one member of the British royal family who's often accused of being greedy or self-serving, it would easily be Queen Camilla. And lately, she's been doing little to change that reputation. Not long ago, there were talks that she tried to lay her hands on one of Princess Catherine's treasured tiaras. Now, it seems she's at it again, this time trying to get her hands on the late Queen Elizabeth II's iconic 2006 Range Rover. And not for herself, but for her son, Tom Parker Bowles. The move didn't go down well, especially with King Charles. When he reportedly found out what his wife was up to, the king didn't hold back. What followed was said to be a heated confrontation that shook even the palace walls. The once calm, composed Charles is rumored to have screamed at Camilla, finally losing his patience after years of quietly enduring her self-interest. But the real question now is, why would Camilla want the late Queen's prized car for her son? Keep watching to find out. When it comes to Queen Camilla, things are rarely ever that simple, but to understand why this particular Range Rover sparked such tension, we have to go back to where it all began, with Queen Elizabeth II herself. The late Queen wasn't just known for her grace, composure, and sense of duty. She also had a strong, lifelong passion for vehicles. She wasn't one to simply be chauffeured around.
As we get into the 1960s, obviously the family gets a little bit bigger, so they need a station wagon. So this is a 1966 2A.
Queen Elizabeth loved to drive, often preferring to take the wheel herself, whether at Balmoral, Sandringham, or Windsor. And when she did, one brand stood above the rest: Range Rover. The connection between Queen Elizabeth II and Range Rover runs deep. It goes all the way back to the 1970s, though her love affair with Land Rover started even earlier, shortly after the company's vehicles were introduced in the late 1940s. The Queen and Prince Philip used Land Rovers for everything, from official engagements to countryside tours and private retreats. Balmoral Castle, the royal family's Scottish estate, became almost synonymous with the sight of the Queen behind the wheel of her trusted Land Rover, expertly navigating its rocky, rugged terrain. When the luxury 4x4 Range Rover was launched in 1970, Queen Elizabeth immediately took a liking to it. It offered the perfect balance of elegance and endurance.
That's a police superintendent there.
I know, that's what made me wonder. I thought they'd arrested him.
Fit for a monarch who valued both tradition and practicality. Over the years, she owned several bespoke models, each one custom-built to her exact preferences. Her earlier Range Rovers were specially modified, featuring raised seats for better visibility, custom interiors tailored for comfort, and advanced communication systems so she could stay connected even during long countryside drives. Later models became sleeker and more modern, even eco-conscious, as the Queen began embracing hybrid versions that reflected her commitment to sustainability. The Range Rover wasn't just transportation for her, it was a symbol of what she stood for, a blend of British engineering, reliability, and understated luxury. The vehicle appeared at major royal events, parades and jubilees, carrying the Queen with effortless grace. It wasn't just a car. It was part of her royal image, the perfect union of heritage and modernity. But of all the cars in her collection, one model stood out: her 2006 Range Rover 5.8, which became something of an icon. It wasn't just another addition to the royal fleet. It was her car. Between 2006 and 2008, the Queen personally used it for both official outings and private drives, often preferring to ditch her security team and take it off-road herself. This particular vehicle came with all the royal touches: a supercharged 4.2-liter Jaguar-derived V8 engine, internal security wiring, special handles to help Her Majesty in and out, and even a dog guard for her beloved corgis. It was regal, practical, and distinctly her. So when that same car recently went under the hammer at the Silverstone Festival in 2025, collectors were quick to take notice. Auctioneers estimated it would sell for between £50,000 and £70,000, roughly $67,000 to $4,000, but they underestimated just how much royal history could add to its value. When the bidding began, the crowd was electric. The vehicle's historical significance spoke louder than any price tag. By the end of it, the car sold for a stunning £175,000, more than double its expected price, around $237,000. That's how much prestige and emotional weight came with owning a piece of the Queen's personal legacy. According to iconic auctioneers, vehicles with such distinguished provenance rarely enter the market, making this an exceptional opportunity for collectors and enthusiasts alike. They weren't wrong. The Queen's Range Rover wasn't just a car, it was a moving piece of British history. Now, imagine the uproar when Camilla reportedly tried to claim that same piece of royal history for her son. Sources say she wanted to secure it before it left the royal circle completely. On the surface, it might have looked like a sentimental gesture, a mother wanting to pass on a bit of royal legacy to her child. But within the palace, it raised eyebrows. Some saw it as yet another attempt by Camilla to blur the lines between her own family and the royal bloodline. And that's what allegedly set King Charles off. The idea that the late Queen's beloved Range Rover, a car that symbolized her reign, independence, and love for the countryside, could end up in the hands of Camilla's son didn't sit well with him. The king, who has worked tirelessly to preserve his mother's legacy, reportedly saw the move as selfish, insensitive, and tone-deaf. The tension between King Charles and Queen Camilla isn't exactly new, but this latest incident seems to have pushed things dangerously close to breaking point. Palace insiders claim the king was furious, not just because of the late Queen's Range Rover, but because of what it represented. It wasn't about a car. It was about boundaries, and how far Camilla was willing to go to merge her world with his. For years, Charles has tried to strike a balance between protecting his mother's legacy and giving his wife the space she craves within the monarchy. But this move, reportedly trying to claim Queen Elizabeth II, iconic 2006 Range Rover for her son, Tom Parker Bowles, was something even he couldn't ignore. Those close to the couple say that when Charles found out, his patience finally snapped. After years of carefully managing her public image, Camilla's latest stunt may have tilted the scale once again. The headlines haven't been kind, and every time stories like this surface, her reputation as the self-serving queen only grows stronger. But the truth might go deeper than just greed or entitlement. To understand why Camilla would even want the late Queen's Range Rover and why it hit such a nerve with Charles, you have to go back to the complicated history between the two women, Queen Elizabeth II and Camilla Parker Bowles. Queen Camilla and Queen Elizabeth II strained relationship. Their relationship was never simple, never easy, and in many ways, that tension still lingers, even now. 7 months before her death, Queen Elizabeth shocked many when she announced that Camilla, then Duchess of Cornwall, would be known as Queen Consort when Charles took the throne. It was a huge shift from the monarchy's earlier plan. Back in 2005, Buckingham Palace had made it clear that Camilla would be Princess Consort, not queen. But just before her passing, Elizabeth changed the narrative herself. Some royal experts believe that decision wasn't just a gesture of acceptance. It was a strategic move to bolster support for Camilla and ensure a smoother transition for her son. Still, that act of grace didn't erase the past. Royal expert Katie Nicholl, in her book The New Royals, paints a picture of two women who, for years, simply could not stand each other. British historian Robert Lacey recalled that in 1998, when Charles was pleading with his mother to be more accepting of Camilla, the Queen dismissed her as that wicked woman. Those words, Lacey noted, came straight from a distraught Charles himself. By that time, the history between Charles and Camilla was already steeped in scandal. They had started as young lovers in the early 1970s, only to part ways when Charles left for the Navy. Both eventually married other people, but the affair never truly ended. By the 1980s, their secret relationship had become one of the monarchy's worst-kept secrets. The royal family was publicly humiliated in 1993 when the now infamous Camilla-gate tapes surfaced, revealing intimate conversations between the two lovers, including the shocking moment when Charles told Camilla he wanted to be her tampon. A year later, he confessed to adultery on national television. As historian Robert Lacey once put it, "If you're looking for one problem or set of problems in the reign of Elizabeth II, they all come down to Charles, and specifically his infatuation with one woman who was not his wife." The scandals of the 1990s dragged the royal family through the mud. Inside the palace, Camilla's very name was off-limits. Nicholl wrote that the Queen would not have Camilla's name uttered in her presence. That's how deep the resentment went. But after Charles and Diana divorced in 1996, the palace began cautiously, planning a way to legitimize his relationship with Camilla. Behind the scenes, an operation called Mrs. PB for Parker Bowles was quietly launched. PR strategist Mark Bolland, who led the initiative, told Nicholl that the goal at the time wasn't marriage or titles. It was damage control. At this stage, there was absolutely no talk of marriage or Camilla being queen, Bolland recalled. It was more like, can we actually just spend some time together? Go to the theater and not live in fear of terrible headlines. In July 1997, Charles threw Camilla a lavish 50th birthday party, a public signal that their relationship was moving forward. But just a month later, Princess Diana died in a tragic car crash, and all plans to soft launch Camilla were instantly halted. The grief, the outrage, and the public mood made it impossible. It took more than a year for the couple to re-emerge. In November 1998, Charles hosted another 50th birthday celebration, this time for himself, and invited Camilla as his guest of honor. The Queen refused to attend. Her absence sent a clear message that she still didn't approve. Even so, Charles and Camilla continued to push forward. In January 1999, they made their first official public appearance together at Camilla's sister's birthday party at the Ritz Hotel. A few months later, they were seen vacationing together in Greece with their children, blending families in a quiet act of defiance. By 2000, the frost between the Queen and Camilla began to thaw. When Elizabeth attended a 60th birthday party hosted by the couple for King Constantine of Greece, royal watchers took it as a subtle olive branch. 2 years later, when Camilla was invited to join the royal family at Buckingham Palace for the Golden Jubilee celebration, it was seen as the official end of hostilities. In 2003, Charles and Camilla moved in together. 2 years later, they finally married. At the reception inside Windsor Castle, Queen Elizabeth gave a rare toast, acknowledging the long, scandalous road they had traveled. "I'm very proud and wish them well," she said. "My son is home and dry, with the woman he loves." That was her way of saying that after decades of turmoil, she had finally made peace with Camilla. But anyone who's followed the royal family closely knows that forgiveness doesn't always mean fondness. The Queen may have accepted Camilla out of love for her son, but she never truly embraced her. And now, with the late Queen gone, it seems those old tensions are finding new ways to resurface. That's why this whole Range Rover drama feels so charged. For Camilla, taking possession of the late Queen's personal car might not just be about gifting it to her son. It could be something deeper, a quiet act of symbolism, a way of claiming a piece of the woman who once stood firmly in her way. To Charles, that Range Rover was sacred, a moving emblem of his mother's reign, her sense of duty, and her devotion to service. For Camilla to even think of passing it on to someone outside the royal bloodline felt, to him, like rewriting a legacy that wasn't hers to touch. The moment he found out, Charles's composure reportedly shattered. What followed was a full-blown argument, a rare moment where the usually calm and restrained king screamed at Camilla behind palace doors. But if you've been paying attention to their marriage, you'd know that this outburst didn't come out of nowhere. Instead, it was the result of years of tension slowly bubbling beneath the surface, and one of those moments happened in a rather public setting. King Charles's controversial comments. Long before the Range Rover drama, a different incident offered a rare glimpse into the private tensions of their marriage. It happened after a West End performance of the Chiltern Hundreds, where Charles met actress Carly Norris, known for her roles in EastEnders and Doctors. Charles, ever the charming royal, complimented her performance, but then added, perhaps too casually, "You've got very sexy legs." Norris recalled being taken aback but polite, responding with a simple, "Oh, thank you, Your Highness." Apparently that should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. Later that evening, during dinner, Charles reportedly kept bringing up Norris's legs, almost absent-mindedly, much to Camilla's growing irritation. Until finally she couldn't take it anymore. In a burst of frustration, she slammed her knife and fork down and exclaimed, "Oh, for goodness sake, Chaz, will you stop going on about that gal's legs?" And with that, she stormed out of the room, leaving everyone in stunned silence. It was one of those moments that peeled back the polished curtain of royal life, revealing a marriage that, for all its titles and crowns, was still full of ordinary, very human squabbles. Camilla's outburst that night wasn't just about jealousy, it was about control, about setting limits in a world where every word and gesture is scrutinized. And that same theme seems to echo in the Range Rover saga. To some royal watchers, Camilla's attempt to take ownership of the late Queen's car might not just be about sentiment or goodwill toward her son. It could also be about claiming a slice of royal identity, a tangible piece of what she spent years trying to be a part of, but never fully owned. But this is not the first time we've seen Charles's temper flare, either. Just months after becoming king, he was caught on camera losing patience with Camilla during a public walkabout in Wrexham, Wales. The two had been meeting with Deadpool actor Ryan Reynolds and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia star Rob McElhenney at Wrexham AFC. But what fans noticed most wasn't the celebrity meetup. It was the tension between the royal couple. As Camilla lingered behind, chatting with the crowds, Charles's frustration was clearly visible. Caught on camera, he muttered to his aides, "Can we try and get her back again, please? We need to go. I was trying to wait for her. But she goes on." His irritation was obvious, and within hours, the clip went viral on YouTube, racking up more than 1 million views and thousands of comments from fans dissecting the royal body language. It wasn't the first time Charles had been caught on camera losing his cool either. Just days into his reign, during the official accession council, he grew visibly frustrated when a pen leaked ink all over his hands. He grimaced, waved his hands in exasperation, and muttered under his breath, a moment that instantly became headline material. The same thing happened again at Hillsborough Castle. Another pen, another temper flare, and another viral clip. To most people, King Charles's moments of irritation might seem small. But for those who follow the royals, they show a man under years of pressure and scrutiny. The Range Rover drama, his rare outbursts, and his complicated relationship with Camilla all connect. And one thing has always added tension: Camilla's relationship with Charles's sons, Prince William and Prince Harry. That strain has never really gone away. The ongoing drama between stepmother and stepchildren. While the world has long known about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's fractured relationship with the royal family, an old interview clip resurfaced online last year, reopening old wounds and drawing millions of eyes back to Camilla. In the viral video, Harry didn't hold back when speaking about his stepmother. He referred to Camilla as the villain and the third person in his parents' marriage, implying that she had to rehabilitate her image after marrying his father. The clip, originally from his 2023 60 Minutes interview with Anderson Cooper, has found new life on TikTok, drawing more than 300,000 views and thousands of likes in just a few days. For many, it was a reminder of the pain that once tore through the royal family, a pain that never quite healed. Harry's words cut deep. He recalled that both he and William once asked their father not to marry Camilla. According to him, they didn't think it was necessary. They felt the marriage would only bring more harm than good. Harry explained that their father seemed happy enough with Camilla already, so they wondered why he needed to make it official. At the time, both brothers wanted their father's happiness, but they feared that happiness might come at too high a cost. In that same interview, Harry went even further, suggesting that Camilla's public image makeover made her dangerous. He claimed that her drive to win over the British press came with consequences, that there was a willingness to exchange information, even at the expense of others within the royal circle. With the monarchy built on hierarchy, and Camilla rising toward the position of queen consort, Harry believed that her ambition would inevitably leave casualties in its wake. The internet, as always, was divided. Some praised Harry for defending his late mother, saying that he had finally spoken the truth no one else would dare to say. Others felt he had gone too far, accusing him of hurting the very family he once claimed to protect. Royal insiders also chimed in. Journalist and Camilla's longtime friend Petronella Wyatt shared on Good Morning Britain that Harry's words would likely wound King Charles far more than they would affect Camilla. She described Charles as deeply devoted to his wife and said he would be heartbroken on her behalf. Camilla, however, was described as resilient, someone who would keep her chin up, smile through the storm, and continue with her duties unfazed. Even so, the distance between father and son seems wider than ever. Earlier last year, when news broke about King Charles's health diagnosis, Harry reportedly found out through the media, not the palace. He eventually flew to the UK to visit his father, a small gesture, but one that showed just how fractured their relationship has become. Since stepping away from royal duties in 2020, Harry and Meghan have built a new life in California with their 2 children, far from the palace walls and all the tension that comes with them. But despite the distance, the ripple effects of their choices still reach London, especially as Charles and Camilla try to steady the crown in their own way. Meanwhile, inside the palace, another quiet tug-of-war has reportedly been brewing, one involving Charles, Camilla, William, and Kate. The Prince and Princess of Wales have long been the public favorites, admired for their grace, warmth, and approachability. For years, royal watchers have discussed what their eventual reign might look like, with experts claiming that Kate holds the future of the monarchy in her hands. But not everyone inside the palace seems entirely comfortable with that idea. A recent report described discussions about William and Kate's future roles as a sensitive topic, suggesting that the conversation has sparked occasional tension. According to one insider, Charles and Camilla are determined to fully enjoy their reign, especially considering they only ascended to the throne in their 70s. Both have waited decades for this chapter of their lives, and Camilla, in particular, is said to be deeply attached to her duties as queen. The source described her as particularly hesitant to pass on her responsibilities to Kate, adding that she has always loved the role and dreamed of being queen. Handing it over too soon isn't something she's ready to entertain. Reports also claim that Camilla and Kate's relationship has never been entirely smooth. While they've maintained a polite public front, those behind the scenes describe a certain tension, one that's only grown since Charles's coronation. There's also talk of shifting dynamics between the king and his eldest son. Another insider explained that Charles has waited nearly his entire life to become monarch, and even while battling health challenges, he remains focused on leading with energy and purpose. William, on the other hand, is described as equally driven, a reflection of his father's ambition. Some sources have even referred to them as rivals when it comes to work, both wanting to prove their worth and maintain influence in their respective roles. However, other royal aides quickly dismiss the idea of rivalry, insisting that Charles feels nothing but pride in his son's dedication. To them, the king isn't being sidelined. He's simply watching the next generation prepare to take its place. Something he understands is both inevitable and necessary. Still, the royal family remains in a fragile balancing act. The world watches as Charles and Camilla juggle tradition, family friction, and the constant hum of public opinion, all while William and Kate quietly shape the monarchy's future in their own way. And as for Harry? He may live an ocean away, but his words still echo through the halls of Buckingham Palace, a reminder that for the Windsors, peace is never permanent, and every calm moment comes with the shadow of the storm before it. What are your thoughts on King Charles's reaction? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also click the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.